Yadi Krishna Dashaya. Uvacha Yadi Krishna Dashaya. Shonaka Uvacha Kasya Hetu Jagara Kalim Digvijayendra Nideva Chitna Shudra Oso Namra Padana Tatkatyatam Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashayam Yadi Krishna Katashayam. Shonaka Uvacha Kasya Hetu Jagara Kalim Digvijayendra Nideva Chitna Shudra Oso Namra Tatkatyatam Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashayam. Shonaka Uvacha Kasya Hetu Jagara Kalim Digvijayendra Nideva Chitna Shudra Oso Tatkatyatam Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashayam. Shonaka Uvacha Kasya Hetu Jagara Kalim Digvijayendra Nideva Chitna Shudra Oso Namra Tatkatyatam Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashayam. Shonaka Uvacha Kasya Hetu Jagara Kalim Digvijayendra Nideva Chitna Shudra Oso Namra Tatkatyatam Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashayam. Shonaka Uvacha Kasya Hetu Jagara Kalim Digvijayendra Nideva Chitna Shudra Oso Namra Padana Tatkatyatam Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashayam. Would anyone like to chant online? Shonaka Uvacha. Shonaka Rishi said, Kasya, for what? Hetoho, reason. Nijagraha, sufficiently punished. Kalim, the master of the age of Kali. Digvijaye, during the time of his world tour. Nripaha, the king. Nrideva, royal person. Chinadrik, decorated light. Shudrakaha, lowest of the Shudras. Aso, he. Gam, cow. Yaha, one who. Pada, ahanat, struck with his leg. Tat, all that. Katyatam, please describe. Mahabhaga, O greatly fortunate one. Yadi, if however, Krishna, about Krishna, Kata Ashrayam, related with his topics. Translation for Prabhupada is Divine Grace, AC Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. Shonaka Rishi inquired, why did Maharaj Parikshit simply punish him, since he was the lowest of the Shudras, having dressed as a king and having struck a cow with his leg? Please describe all these incidents if they relate to the topics of Lord Krishna. Purport. Shonaka and the Rishis were astonished to hear that the pious Maharaj Parikshit simply punished the culprit and did not kill him. This suggests that a pious king like Maharaj Parikshit should have at once killed an offender who wanted to cheat the public by dressing like a king and at the same time daring to insult the purest of the animals, a cow. The rishis in those days, however, could not even imagine that in the advanced days of the age of Kali, the lowest of the Shudras will be elected as administrators and will open organized slaughterhouses for killing cows. Anyway, although hearing about a Shudraka who was a cheat and insulter of a cow was not very interesting to the great rishis, they nevertheless wanted to hear about it to see if the event had any connection with Lord Krishna. They were simply interested in the topics of Lord Krishna. For anything that is dovetailed with the narration of Krishna is worth hearing. There are many topics in the Bhagavatam about sociology, politics, economics. Therefore, all of them are worth hearing. Krishna. What was that? Maybe 1 second. Okay. I'll start here again. There are many topics in the Bhagavatam about sociology, politics, economics, cultural affairs, etc. But all of them are in relation with Krishna, and therefore all of them are worth hearing. Krishna is the purifying ingredient in all matters, regardless of what they are. In the mundane world, everything is impure due to his being a product of the three mundane qualities: The purifying agent, however, is Krishna. So, we're in the transition again. Sholaka Rishi Kaur. Why did Maharaj Parikshit simply punish him, since he was the lowest of the Shudras, having dressed as a king and having struck a cow with his leg? Please describe all these incidents if they relate to the topics of Lord Krishna. So, the word for it in topics in relation to Lord Krishna is Krishna Kadashraya. These sages, they have a focus. Their focus is to hear about topics which are dovetailed with Lord Krishna. This taste or this interest is developed by association. And through that association, we receive higher intelligence, and we can understand that my ears will go on hearing something. And if they hear something which is not in relation to Lord Krishna, then that will be a source of knowledge. And so we hear this through the Bhakti Yoga text, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and from the devotees and from the Guru. And we have a great opportunity because there are so many wonderful topics which can be dovetailed with Lord Krishna. Actually, more or less, we need a whole new dictionary with purports from the Vaishnavas that every word is essentially meant to be used in glorification of the Lord. But right now, each word carries so much mundane connotations, and we're reminded of, or when we hear words or we hear topics, then we're inclined to forget Krishna. Interestingly enough, the pure devotee doesn't hear anything but Krishna, no matter what that person hears. So this is very interesting that upon achieving the perfection of life or love for God, then no matter what one hears, that person will automatically be reminded of Krishna. Doesn't matter what it may be. And this is important because we can use this as a sort of a progress indicator that whatever we may hear, are we fixed in our remembrance of Krishna, and can we connect any topic to Lord Krishna? And actually that's our duty, especially amongst ourselves, that sometimes we may inadvertently talk something, but that's in relation to service. So it's not mundane. But if there is something that feels a little bit mundane, then the devotees are very expert at connecting that. They share a purport. And as soon as the talk seemed to go in the direction, the devotees are very happy to bring Krishna in the center again. This is important when we go for preaching and when we speak to each other, that our business is to only speak what is in relation to Lord Krishna. This is real silence or real guna vrata. We're not very much encouraged to practice the vow of silence. We are very much encouraged to vibrate this tongue on behalf of the Supreme Lord and to use our ears to receive his message. And so Prabhupada mentions here that there are many topics which the Bhagavatam covers. But our main point, or the main point that all these topics are being brought up, is to bring us to the point of pure manifold devotional service. And so we have to understand that when the topics go into politics and things like that, the goal is the same. Let us actually develop pure devotional service for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not that we're interested in politics for some personal aggrandizement or name and fame in this world, or just some mundane accumulation of knowledge. And we're only interested in those topics because there's purports behind them which will help us develop pure loving devotional service. So there are some letters from Srila Prabhupada because some devotees, they entered into the political arena. And Prabhupada writes them about how this is a nice platform because their business was preaching the Varnashram Dharma and how essentially this system, which the government is supposed to implement in society, is meant to develop God consciousness in every person. And so because of that, that's the real duty of the government. And so there's much opportunity to preach this transcendental message. But Prabhupada gives some specific guiding principles for those devotees, and he reassured them again and again that this work will be successful, especially if we maintain all of our devotional principles. We have to chant our 16 rounds. We have to wake up for Mangalarti, come to Mangalarti. We have to worship the deity. We have to eat prasada, associate with the devotees. We have to do classes daily, multiple classes. These are all our life and soul. And Prabhupada, so many times he says, that will be our success of our preaching mission. If you stick firmly to these principles, and he asked all the leaders to, and all those who are engaged under one's care, it's the duty of that leader to ensure that everyone is following those things properly. So, on the point about the Shudra, the sages, from this question, they were wondering, why is it that Maharaj Parikshit didn't kill this rascal right away? Because such degraded behavior is to be punished severely with death. And there are different types of aggressors. And according to this, the sages understood that this was the time to employ called capital punishment, right? That this person should have been slain. And Prabhupada makes some little bit of elaboration that the rishis in those days, however, could not even imagine that in the advanced days of the age of Kali, the lowest of the Shudras will be elected as administrators and will open organized slaughterhouses for killing cows. Prabhupada is highlighting that these sages who were highly advanced could not even imagine the degraded condition in this Kali Yuga. To some extent, Prabhupada is using that language. That they thought it was unbelievable, or it was worth asking about why Parikshit Maharaj didn't slay this rascal right away. What to speak of such representatives of Kali being elected and maintaining organized slaughterhouses. So actually, the government has failed in this way. That instead of protecting the cow, we have actually created business off of her slaughter, and we are going to suffer for that. And the only remedy is to hear about Lord Sri Krishna. That will cleanse the heart. That will create a revolution in the lives of impious men. And this will be the key to bringing about a righteous society. So we have to continue our preaching mission. And Prabhupada states that at least the devotees should make an effort to try to protect the cows, because those cows are so dear to Krishna. And we know that's the duty of the human society. So at least the devotees should try. Now, some may be confused sometimes when we use milk products to serve Krishna, but actually all those living entities are getting spiritual benefit that we offer. And so the idea behind this Sankirtan movement is we follow the footsteps of our acharyas and we take their stance on different positions. And as we execute our chanting Hare Krishna, we bring more and more people into the fold of devotional service, then gradually this whole society will be spiritualized. And everybody will be making spiritual advancement. So we just have to continue on enthusiastically chanting and dancing, giving more and more time and energy towards this process and bringing others to this process. And we daily revitalize ourselves with these topics in relation to Lord Krishna and remind ourselves that I am an eternal servant of Krishna. I have my duty to him as a servant. I'm meant to help others take up that duty again. And in that way, we can always stay in constant remembrance. So, thank you for patiently hearing. Are there any comments or questions? Maybe if Maharaj had anything, we'll wait a few moments if you want to speak. Okay. Devotees, please or online.
Earlier you mentioned that the devotees have to expertly divert a conversation to Krishna Patel. And so I was wondering if you could speak upon or maybe share some verses about what to do when we hear criticism, like especially about our devotees, and how to divert those conversations. Because I fall into this idea that if I just listen to this devotee, I'll relieve them from some stress or anxiety. But sometimes it's really heavy on me, thinking I don't necessarily want to hear this, but I want to be caring and listen. I guess. Like, it would help us.
Thank you. This is an important topic. More or less, criticisms are not completely. It's that it'll be mixed. That it's in relation to Lord Krishna, but it's also for my personal sense gratification. So we can understand from the Bhagavatam that the saints and sages and the devotees, they are like honeybees who search for honey. And the persons who are in the material consciousness, we search for sores, just like a fly searches for filthy places. So this is the background. So we can see for fault finding, it's a type of pleasure. We relish that. We like that. We like to find so many reasons why we should bring others down and ourselves up. But in general, these things that we find, they're none of our business. Now, if we can't help but to see some criticism or some fault, and what is our mentality is that let me fix myself first. Let me fix myself first, and then I can try to rectify them. But that rectification has to go through a certain channel. That we should understand that when we speak criticism, it's going to hurt the person that or it has the potential to negatively affect the person that we're actually going to speak that to. Now, we should go to that person's senior, or even preliminarily, we should go to our senior. We should go to our senior and say, Prabhu, I'm actually having this issue. I'm actually finding this fault in somebody. So you relieve yourself of that through your proper channel. Then that person can actually go to the other person's senior, and they can have a conversation about that. Okay. Yes, actually, this devotee has found this issue repeatedly with this other devotee. Maybe what can we do about it to help uplift that person? This is appropriate. Now, if we are finding that persons are treating us as that senior to them, and it's weighing on us, then we also have to go ahead and do our mind to our senior. And at a certain point, our senior may tell us that it's better you don't hear those things because it's not going to be favorable. And then what is it, the trick? That if somebody is speaking something which is a little bit critical or harsh, and we have determined it's not my duty to hear that. Sometimes it is our duty to hear that. But I've talked to my senior and I've determined it's not my duty to hear that criticism of that duty. So, what is the procedure? Then you glorify that duty. They're criticizing something, and you say, oh, you're so nice. he's actually so enthusiastic in kirtan, and he's doing so much cool service. He's working really hard, and it's really awesome. I really like him. He's a great person, really fun to be around, really nice and friendly. Nobody's got an issue with him. He's always nice. Great. Like that. Then that person has come to a crossroads. So I am presenting all these criticisms, and my friend is now telling me all these great things about that person. So now, if I want to actually continue criticizing that person that I was criticizing and try to get this person on my team, oh yeah, that guy, yeah, he is like that. Then I have to take a risk of somehow tarnishing my relationship with the person I'm talking to. Now this is getting a little confusing, but you understand that basically somebody tells you a criticism and you determine it's not my duty to hear that, that's it. Then you actually divert that by praising the person that is being criticized. Because there's so many wonderful qualities to find in that person. And we're just choosing to bring out a few negatives, just like the spot on the moon. So instead we glorify and we change the whole flow. Now that person has to go again and back against that. And that's going to be weird for the two persons who are speaking. And as you practice this, then that person will just understand, oh, I shouldn't tell that to that person, because every time I tell that some criticism to that person, they just tell me so many great things about the person I'm trying to criticize. So I guess they're just not into it. And that's a great way to go about it. Of course, we criticize mostly because we're enemies and we want to bring somebody down. Envy is like that. That we want to take what they have. We don't want them to have it. Oh, HG Prabhu.
Just make a small comment. The way we grow in this bhakti yoga is to serve the Vaishnavas. The way we degrade in this path and fall down is Vaishnava Apara. Vaishnava Apara is very dangerous. You can commit this by unnecessary offenses or things we call family mentality or criticize the Vaishnavas. Pointing out, so when somebody commits Vaishnava Apara, everything is wrong. So, what can we do to prevent from committing this Vaishnava Apara? We can remain more humble than a blade of grass and more fine than a tree. We make a list of the Vaishnavas. 1, 2, 3. I am last on this list. And there's nobody below me on this list. This is how we can, this mentality is how we can prevent this Vaishnava Apara and criticizing others unnecessarily, because realistically, if we're thinking of ourselves like this, then how are we going to think we're in a position to criticize anyone? And I really like what you mentioned. A lot of the time, this criticism is, it's almost like subconsciously you're vocalizing that there's this problem inside of you. It's not, you're trying to like portray it on someone else. So I think the first thing we should do when these tendencies come up is look inward and not think it's some kind of external matter that we have to, vocalize to other people, because it doesn't help anybody's spiritual progress to hear it or to speak those things.
Thank you. One thing though, I do want to mention is it does help you to go to your senior and talk to your senior about it. And they will tell you what, you know, they'll give you the idea that you're in line. You know, and then they'll also give some rectification in the process. Like this is great. The thing is that we are very puffed up. So we know we should be last on the list, but actually we're at the top on our list, on our list. But in due time, by continuing our devotional service, then we become like that. So that's the idea, is that we have to stay alive, and the big part of staying alive is to reveal our mind. It's not just anyone, you're right, that was important. That if we don't go to the right person, we'll create a disturbance. If we go to the right person, then it will. And, you know, the devotees, they don't encourage finding fault, but we may be able to do a service to the devotees by mentioning some practical detail which needs to be improved. But we don't mention that casually. It should be very deliberate and in the duty as a servant, as you mentioned, Master.
So, yeah, this is very nice to be able to go to the senior and speak to them about some issue, maybe that has arisen. It's also okay and encouraged that you can communicate with this person and say somebody is, you feel like somebody is disturbing you unnecessarily, then you can speak to them about it, share it, and maybe not in the moment, maybe not the right time, but maybe later, because this is friendship. You know, it's like if I just always bypass this communication with somebody and I just go to senior, then we may not have so much of a relationship, and all the tension is created from some agitation or services that's happening may not be believed within that relationship, because I'm just always like, and always bring it to the senior to do something about it, which they may decide to do something or not. And so if they don't do something, they say, like, it's okay, you know, the following process, they'll continue on, you know, gradually purified of this, then you're still stuck with the same issue. But if you respectfully communicate with such a person that, you know, there's these like, in the communications course that's given in ISKCON, and speak about how you can use like 3 particular words in your language that's respectful communication. I use the word concerned, needs, interests, and concerns. So if somebody, let's say somebody like cut you in line for persona, and they always do this, and now you're thinking, does this person have something against me? Like, why they always cut me in line? I'm also on them. You think maybe they're offensive. Okay, you can go to the senior and tell the senior about it. There's such a little issue. Like the senior's got so many things to worry about. So if you just later on say, you know, I know Prabhu, or maybe in the case of Mataji, you know, I'm concerned that, like, you know, when you do this, when you cut, I've noticed that I've been cut in line, and maybe you're doing it intentionally or not intentionally, but I'm concerned that, you know, I'm becoming disturbed, and also I'm concerned that maybe there's an issue in our relationship. And, you know, my interest is that I don't want there to be any difficulties. I want there to be, you know, good relationship. So therefore, I'm wanting to discuss this. So then there can be some respectful discussion, and if the person is just unreasonable, okay, they might just be unreasonable in the moment due to false ego that's flaring up, and then we have to just tolerate it. Then we can speak to the senior, like, this happening, I spoke to them about it, and, you know, they got, I can take it. then we can see some guidance, but we shouldn't just always go to the senior for every little thing that happens. Because then it just overburdens them, they may not want to deal with it. I mean, it depends on how serious it is, but in general cases, if it's just little things, and it's like, seniors going to feel overburdened. So, so I think it's important for us actually as a community to get into this, to learn this, and because it's important, and then there won't be all this thing like, I'm not having a good relationship with this person because like I can't talk to them about what I'm really feeling. I always have to go to this senior, and then all of a sudden nothing happens, and I'm still feeling the same. So I'm not saying that that's not the right route to take. I'm just saying that we should really learn how to do this, because then we'll have actually real relationships. As far as living in the community, that there's different individuals, different ways of doing things. So we have to learn how to communicate effectively and respectfully. And if somebody has a problem with that, then that is an issue they should be brought up, because to the seniors too, particularly because that's not it's not a cooperative spirit if somebody's like respectfully trying to discuss something with us and you get angry and you don't want to discuss it, you want to talk about it, and we dismiss it. So that's a concern for someone about someone's mood. But yeah, I think we need to learn this art, and yeah, it's difficult. It's like it's in our conditioning, mostly we're growing up with if somebody's agitating us or disturbing our minds, then we just kind of like either forget about it and then just write off the person, don't deal with them at all, or we get into fights or we heated arguments. So, but this is an important thing, this kind of respectful communication, and for reasonable people, then it'll actually work. Like I said, if we're too much on the false ego platform, then yeah, this person might get disturbed every time. So that's a bigger issue. So then we have to inquire from this. So don't come to me if someone cuts your line for prasad and tell me, hey, they keep cutting it for prasad. So like, what do? I'm just going to tell you, talk to the person. And then once you talk to the person, and then if they say, well, hey, you're a subordinate, you're low, you should be okay with it. Or Chaitanya says, be humble, I'm cut your line every day. And that's a pretty big issue. It's pretty weird. So you may not be able to solve that yourself by talking to this person. So like this, I think this will really help us because I see that there's some blocks in relationships because there's always this thing like, oh, I gotta go to my senior because this person, I don't know, any little thing that may happen. This person didn't throw away the trash in the dumpster, so now I gotta go to my senior at some point, then I forget. So then there's all this tension. So anyway, we should really learn how to communicate. And if we do it respectfully, at least we try, and it'll work out. Even if there is some false ego in the beginning, which I think is probably bound to happen. But as long as we're trying to do things respectfully, then it'll be okay. Even if someone's criticizing, like, yeah, it's hard to do anything in that moment, because even if you say, like, oh, this person's, well, they're actually doing great and this and that, the person knows, like, now they're trying to correct me because it's not the Lord. So then they also get disturbed. So there's so much disturbance always. So it's also helpful in that circumstance, look, and you either just leave or you stop talking and just do your own thing, or look, I'm concerned that we might be offending this person. Or maybe not the moment, but later when you're talking about how Krishna Bhagavan is too much, I think that might cause some difficulties for you in your spiritual life. I'm concerned about that. So. It also depends how senior the person is. Like, if the person is senior to you, very senior to you by a couple of years, then it's probably not best to. It's probably not best to bring up like issues like this. Like, bring up the cutting and money thing. You can say that to us, and that's okay. But like things like criticism, criticizing other devotees. If you say that to someone who's very senior to you, engaged or in the movement, maybe like above 4 years or so, then that's not a good idea. It's just like a breach of etiquette. It's like the subordinate in the scene. So then that has to be shared with someone who's guiding that person. So that's also important. We have to be very respectful with seniors because it's very subtle. Like we may say a little thing to a senior that may seem okay to us, but it's actually they might take it a different way. Like let's say, for example, there's I just go walk into, without knocking, I just go walk into Krishna Shraddha's room and, hey, do some service, this and that. If I just do that, that's really appreciating that. It's so senior, it's like, and I shouldn't do that. Things should be done a certain way. So some important points about how to relate with each other. And so anyway, some takeaways is that we should try to communicate more to each other and not always just automatically go to the scene and not have some sort of communication with the persons involved. So,
Thank you, devotees. Okay. Shall we end? Okay, let us actually end. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the sole devotee.